Worsts next, and in the week of Haiti, can you really call anything a political earthquake 3 times? Staying on the subject of the special Massachusetts senatorial election, no, here's the second of tonight's quick comments. Lost in the angst about Obama and Coakley is the little recognized real headline of this vote. You have heard Scott Brown speculating, talking out of his bare bottom, about whether or not the President of the United States was born out of wedlock. You have heard Scott Brown respond to the shout from his supporter that they should stick a curling iron into Ms. Coakley's rectum with the answer, "We can do this." You may not have heard Scott Brown support a constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriage or describing 2 women having a child as being, quote, just not normal. You may not have heard Scott Brown associating himself with the Tea Party movement, perhaps the saddest collection of people who don't want to admit why they really hate, since the racists of the South in the 60s insisted they were really just concerned about states' rights. You may not have heard Scott Brown voting against funding paid leaves of absence for Massachusetts Red Cross workers who had gone to New York to help after 9/11. In short, in Scott Brown, we have an irresponsible, homophobic, racist, reactionary, ex-new model, teabagging supporter of violence against women and against politicians with whom he disagrees. In any other time in our history, this man would have been laughed off the stage as an unqualified and a disaster in the making by the most conservative of conservatives. Instead, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is close to sending this bad joke to the Senate of the United States. Congressman Anthony Weiner, on his statement earlier that a Republican victory in Massachusetts tonight means health care might be dead, he joins me next. We stay in Massachusetts for the first of tonight's quick comments. And I wanted to apologize for calling Republican Senate candidate Scott Brown an irresponsible, homophobic, racist, reactionary, ex-nude model, teabagging supporter of violence against women and against politicians with whom he disagrees. I'm sorry. I left out the word sexist. And I left out the story of the day Brown, upset by online criticism from some students, went to that school and swore at the entire student body. I'm very sorry. For all the blowback from the right on this, from people who regularly mutter worse things about Barack Obama in their sleep, when it came to the facts I cited to paint this picture of this horrifically unqualified would-be senator, we have heard nothing. No contrary evidence, no refutation, not even a plausible excuse. To the last point, it can be argued that Brown should have been given the benefit of the doubt after a supporter shouted at him that they should shove a curling iron up Martha Coakley's butt. That he did not hear that, perhaps, that when Brown then said, "We can do this," he was not responding to the lunatic in the crowd. The Boston Globe, though, makes an unanswerable point about that. Even if Brown really didn't hear it, where was his statement later, decrying the obscenity and the violence his supporters suggested? Not only did Mr. Brown not offer even the mildest reproach, but when pressed for one by Senator Kerry, Brown replied only that people are tired of John Kerry's partisan politics. In Scott Brown, we have an irresponsible, homophobic, racist, reactionary, sexist, ex-nude model, teabagging supporter of violence against women and against politicians with whom he disagrees. And if he or you don't like that characterization, my answer to you is simple: disprove it, because he hasn't.